This is Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives. With your host, the real Theo Harvey, and Mr. Benja, come with all the relevant info about the week in pop culture. So, Mr. Benja, what are we covering today?
What we're covering today, let me let you know, man. We're going to be covering becoming a master and selling yourself. We've been talking about this 10x is greater than 2x thing. We've been talking easier than 2x thing. We've been talking about the gurus. We've been talking about business development, creative development, etc. And we're going to start integrating that a little more. And we're going to start that one with something that Chris Rock and Kevin Hart brought up. So, pretty interesting stuff. Check that out. Also, we're going to be having a discussion on the billionaire tech bros. Are they doing too much? What's going on with them? Should we curb them? Should we curb their companies? Do we even like them? I don't know. It's a thing and it's becoming more and more of a talking point, especially since Elon Musk told the advertisers to go yourself. Yes, fill in that blank. Um, Also, I got a curiosity here. Why are musicals not being sold as musicals? They're just being sold as movies, and then you go and you find out everyone's singing, and then it's what the hell is this? Or, oh, this is great. It's an interesting little phenomenon, and we thought we'd talk about it because Hollywood is strange. Also, we've got our AI watch. Listen, AI has been doing things. People have been saying that robots are going to take over the world, but it seems to be a slow disruption instead of a fast table turning one. This means a couple interesting things to me. I'm going to get Theo's take on it. We're going to have a little discussion on that. But the slow disruption isn't impressing anybody or doesn't seem to be causing anybody's hair to be set on fire, especially not corporations. So, what does this mean for the industry? What does this mean for us as people? We're going to get into all of that. And finally, we're going to have a little rant. And this came up because of the Marvels. But I got a question. Are we really arguing about the right things? We'll get into all that soon. But first, I want to know how you doing, Theo.
Mr. Benja, I am so good, Mr. Benja. This is December. It is my birthday month. It's Christmas, end of year planning, get ready for next year. December is a weird month, man. It's not weird, but it's just a hopeful month for me. Just a lot of time with family, a lot of reflection, doing, and just trying to think through what 2024 is going to look like for me has been one of the hallmarks of this month. And because obviously my birthday, so every year I get a little older, a little wiser, try to reflect on. And we've been talking about this, right? How you reframe your past to give you energy for your future. And so
Okay.
this has been a positive one. I can remember on this very podcast, I've changed my whole insight. I don't know if you remember this, but last year, around this time back in October, we were talking about Grant Cardone doing the undercover billionaire. And
Yep.
we did a
Yep.
deep dive on that. And ever since then, that just opened my eyes to this whole guru world, Mr. Pinchot. And we've been we've been talking about this guru world ever since. And you knew some of them. I knew some of them over the years, Ty Lopez and Tim Ferriss, and Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V. But it
Yeah.
just, it seems like it exploded, right? And over the last several years, and I just been deep diving this last year, and it's like now it's starting to all come together for me, Mr. Benja. I'm starting to see in Neo at the end when he gets shot by that bullet, and then he looks at
Oh,
that's
your
Will
favorite
Smith,
scene.
and he starts, no, not that part, but
Okay.
before the breathing part, remember he just sees everything in code?
Yeah.
And he gets so hyped. He's in the matrix, damn it, he can read the code. He don't need terminal no more. So it's like I'm getting to that point. So what happened this week was amazing to me because I just literally came up with an offer on the top of my head with someone and just said, "Hey, I can do this, and this is how I can do it." And he said, "Okay, send it to you. Let's do it." So I'm just like, "Yes." Literally, I had nothing. I saw the code, man. I heard him talk. I heard what he wanted, and I just shaped something up and called it something that on the spot. And so now I got to follow up, of course. Delivery of that obligation is important, but it's like a mix of Dan Henry talking about having more conversations, about Myron Golden, talking about a higher level of working as creative power, listen to Alex Hormozy and trying to figure out the value equation, doing a little bit of the work with Dr. Benjamin Hardy and understanding how to see my future self and getting those skills toward that. And so all that's starting to come together over this last, what, year, and I'm starting to see, "Oh, this could be." I could see how these guys are making millions, multi-millions doing this because it's almost like you start to say, "Oh, I can sell something to this
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
I understand what they want." So anyway, that got me hyped this week just from the business standpoint. I'm starting to see the matrix.
That reminds me of an anime. I can't remember which one it was, but there were these guys. You had these cities that were well established, but then anywhere outside of the cities was like wilderness and just the outlands. Nobody really wanted to mess with it. You had the people who were doing their normal thing, and then right when they went outside the city, they didn't know what to do. But then you had these random vagrants and people in their groups are like, "Yeah, I'm a desert guru. If you want to know the way, you got to pay me." And they're like, "What are you talking about? In the city, we have all these things planned out and organized. Now I got to pay you?" And it's, "Hey, you're not in the city anymore, buddy. You gotta, we gotta, we're going to show you the way." And that's how I see all these gurus now. So it's really interesting. And you muted, buddy. Here's what happens when you're,
No, can you
yeah,
hear me?
you're back. You're back.
Okay, good, good, good. Yeah, same here, man. I'm thinking that it's one of those things where you understand a little bit more and you try to leverage everyone, but it's starting to become repetitive somewhat, right?
Mhm.
Oh, this is what he meant here, and this is how this could work here. So it's all starting to mix together for me a little bit. And so yeah, I'm just super excited about that, Mr. Benja. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is just we don't really talk about TV shows and movies as much because I think we're both getting disappointed about the movie selection that we've been watching. This is what I'm here for, Mr. Benj. I'm in these streets, man,
Yeah.
still watching stuff. Obliterated. There was a Netflix TV show that just came out. Have you heard about this show?
No, I thought you were saying when you wrote it up in the notes, I thought you were saying some TV show got obliterated, and I was like, "What? Oh, what happened? What happened to it?"
Almost. It's a TV show, man. It's by the same guys who do Cobra Kai that has some predicate. But it was one of those shows that the premise is this elite force of special forces, army, military, CIA. They're sent in to prevent atomic bomb from going off in Las Vegas, and they prevent it in the first episode within the first 20 minutes, and then they party their asses off, right? And they just have a good time. But come to find out, they got their own bomb. They have to now they're all hungover, drunk, sloppy, not at their best, and they're trying to still figure out how to stop this atomic bomb from going off, and that's the premise of the show. So basically, it's like The Hangover, but with super action, right? It's
Yeah.
like it mixes The Hangover with remember the TV show 24. It's like that.
Mhm.
So interesting concept. It seems like it was more meant for a 90-minute movie, right? But they really went all in on every kind of concept you could think of what it means to be in Vegas and trying to solve something like this. And then you have the strip clubs, you have the gambling, you have people getting married, you have walking down the strip, everything's elevated, and then it's over the top. So it's that 80s gratuitous action, violence, and sex. So it's just a weird mix, man. But I was there
Alright.
for it, man. I watched every episode. Yeah, just something different. I was like, oh, this is taking me back, man, to those good old time 80 movies, right? Like Porky's, all those movies that
What,
just didn't care.
yeah, exactly. What platform again?
Netflix.
Netflix, okay.
Yeah.
That does sound
So
like
yeah.
Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so that was the low brow. That was exactly, and it looks like Netflix. I was Netflix. We watching this other thing on Netflix. I was like, this low brow CGI that Netflix does. It's just like, okay, guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. Anyway, so yeah, that's Netflix. That's the low brow. Eyebrow. I went to go see Napoleon, which is a big historical movie, epic. Went in thinking, oh man, we're gonna really learn about what made Napoleon great as an emperor, as a military leader. I ain't learned nothing, man. It was
Oh,
good to see, so I had to go back on YouTube and figure out, okay, what made this guy great? Doesn't that movie didn't really explain any of that, man. It was more
yeah.
from a perspective of him and his wife Josephine. But it had some moments, but it was I was hoping to get more insight from it. So those are the two things that I saw
Don't
that I
don't
thought was interesting.
okay. Don't look at that link I just sent you just yet. But, you're talking about interesting stuff, and I had to send you that link. Yeah, so I'm glad you're keeping up with all these things. it's necessary, and Napoleon is gonna come back up in our discussion later
Okay,
about,
yeah.
with the marbles and how that all relates. But yeah, man, I've actually gotten a bit of holiday blues. I know oh, no. You sound so concerned.
I am. Real quick, there's a happiness study that says the way to happiness is having strong social connections.
Mhm.
Just want to put it out there, Mr. Benjamin. Strong social connections are the key to happiness and longevity. So hopefully you can have those strong connections. So
I will be
over
moving
the
my
over this
guru self
holiday.
back up into the mountains in my cabin, unplugging the internet, and I will be feeling great. Uh, my blues comes from talking to people, too many randos. But, no, check this out. It's getting towards the end of the year, and New Year's is my favorite time of the year, basically. So, it's when I get to change up, I get to get brand new. People ask, "You acting funny." So, "No, I got a New Year's resolution." And then they give you a funny look and they nod at you like, "Oh, you're actually New Year's resolution, okay." And they talk to themselves like, "Yeah, it'll go away in about a week." And at the end of January, they're like, "Wait, what's going on? He's still doing it. He's still weird." So every year I change up on people. But this year I was I was struggling a little bit because it's towards the end of the year and I haven't figured out that 80% of crap that I need to move on from, focusing on the 80/20. I haven't totally figured out what I need to do in this next step. And it's bugging me because it's making me consider some things and look at some other things and I should be able to do this or there's the gap in the game thing too. I'm looking at some of the gap and I'm like, gosh, I can't stop looking at some of these certain gaps when I'm really trying to look at where I've come. And I think I've come relatively far, but it's funny that the distance that you carry actually makes me want to look at the gap even more, which is unfortunate.
No, yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, this whole concept of the gap in the game. So I wrote this down the other day. I was thinking about it too. Mr. Benja is almost philosophical. I wrote, let me see if I can find it here on a
You are a
podcast
philosopher, by the
slides.
way.
I try to be, man. I try to be. I said, and I thought this is insightful if I can find it. Uh-oh, I'm not gonna be ready for this. Okay, so number one, focus on the game and the game gets wider. It will get bigger than the gap. So basically in my mind, I was like, by focusing on the gains you make, you get better and better. And before you know it, the ideal, what you thought the gap was, will be so small compared to the gains you made because you so focused so much on the game.
Mhm,
So that's one concept. But then check this out. It's almost like a matrix star, right? There's no spoon.
mhm.
Guess what? There's
There
no
is no
gap,
gap.
brother.
There is no gap. I knew it was coming, man.
Yeah, there is no gap. The gap is whatever is your
Yeah, yeah.
perceived notion of this ideal that it doesn't exist.
Let's see. What's funny is I'll go in one of my journals and I'll start writing that down, and I'm like, wait a minute, this seems familiar. And I'll flip back 3 months. I'm like, see, I already had this thought about the gap in the game. Crap, I'm here again. Now I got to do something about it. So yes, focusing on the moment, letting go of that type of thinking. Yes, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
No, you have to give yourself grace. That's one thing Ben says. Don't judge yourself for it. That's part of the game too, right? And you're working on accepting that you have to get better at understanding the gap in the game. And so it's all, and I got a whole concept about this, man. It's almost, this is the cornerstone. If you can get this right, everything else works so much better because it's the cornerstone of everything. The more I think about it, honestly, you got the spiritual and then you got the mental. But and then from there, that's from then the health. What is it? The top three with the health, wealth, and the relationships, right? And those other three can work so much better. So that's what I've been put into my philosophy and trying to understand that because, and I'll put more work on that part than I used to put on the other stuff because it was almost like I was doing the ass backwards. Doing that better this way, that's the most important work because that's going to filter everything else out. So anyway, and that's just my, hopefully that helps in some small way, Mr. Benjamin, but I'm still learning too. And I still have a ways to go in my gap journey, but
No, I'll be honest, it didn't help. But what's going to happen?
I love it.
What's going to happen in 3 weeks? I'm going to think back to this and be like, oh yeah, he said, yeah, and then it'll help. But right now, I'm just like, all right,
Shut up, man. Shut up, fool.
No, you know how that goes.
I do. Hey, yeah, at
Um,
the time, I get it.
but
Yeah, and likewise, you say something to me, I don't get it at the time, and then I think about it and be like, "Yeah, he's right."
I see that perspective now. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so that's why I like talking with you.
I
And
love it.
also, the new podcast. I think I mentioned it to you. The new podcast is coming this week,
Yes.
and it's going to be pretty awesome. It's
Oh,
going to fix
yeah.
a lot of the problems that I had with my other podcast. Still not sure how I want to deal with it, but I needed to do a clean break. I need to put that other podcast in 80%. And you know what? I'm not going to try to shoehorn it in. It's just going to be over there, fine. And this new thing is going to be much more in line with the flow. Yeah. So that's it.
What's the name of the podcast again?
Creativity threads life.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Exactly. That's the key word. Oh, and by the way, if you need something to watch, speaking of threads, this kind of I posted this on threads and people got really excited about it. We were talking about TV shows. This is what I found by searching for a documentary on Tubi. I was on Tubi, right? The free weird. It's a weird service, but if you don't know what Tubi is, you're in for a treat by searching for anything. But I searched for documentary on Tubi, and Theo, check out that link I just sent you. That's what came up. It's
Gotcha.
uh,
I will check it out.
it's
We're keeping it private for now, but maybe we'll share it on the
no, you can share and talk about it, but it's just I didn't want it to come up. Like, okay, you clicked on it, I can tell.
Can I mention what I'm seeing right now?
Yeah, yes. Tell us what you're seeing because this is comedy.
Mr. Emo. Oh man, they look like they about to kill some mofos, man. And but they have afros, they have brown wannabe with the ninja outfits, Dashiki slash ninja outfit.
To be clear, this is a box art or a thumbnail cover of what I searched for, of what I got when I searched for documentaries. I searched for documentaries on Tubi, and this box cover
Wait, I
comes up.
forgot the content. You said documentary. I forgot about that.
Yes, exactly. Documentaries.
So let's just say just called blacks and UFOs. Let's put and
Yes.
these dudes are looking like yeah, Louis Farrakhan, but coming straight from Jupiter and Neptune, man, with the spaceship moving above them with afros and ready to kick mofos. So it's a documentary on blacks and UFOs. There it is.
And I'm not going to subject you to the trailer,
Uh-oh,
but
I
it's
have to
not
see it now.
bad, but I'm not going to subject you to it. It's
Please do.
highly unique. It's because they make it all the stuff on Tubi. There are so many of these weird docudramas where it's like people get a chance to act, so they like put on costumes and go do stuff, and then they'll cut to some guy saying, "They really didn't happen too much like that, but we wanted to show you what could have happened." And it's just like an excuse to have these weird partial stories based on some news report they found. It's an incredibly odd and funny little subgenre industry that's propped up because of Tubi, where anybody just makes stuff, throws it on Tubi. Some guy found a news report about some black people seeing UFOs, and it gets turned into this weird docudrama. Dude,
Listen,
this
Benji,
is
I'm so there for you. You don't even know. I just did a YouTube search and it's there. So that was what I'm watching tonight. Thank you. I had something to watch.
all right. You ready to get into these stories?
Let's do it.
All right. Story number one: becoming the master and selling it. So we were been talking about mastery in terms of the creative sense and developing your craft and building things out and growing for the future, whether it be your business, your art, your personal self, whatever. And then that's the craft side of it, the creative side of it. And then there's this business and financial side, the pieces that keep the behind the scenes running. And that's where the selling part of it comes from, mastering your craft and then selling it. And this came up because of a discussion, or not a discussion, but an observation that Theo had about Chris Rock and Kevin Hart. Tell us how that a little observation went, Theo.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there is a new Netflix, once again, shout out to Netflix documentary coming out about two legendary comedic icons, Chris Rock and Kevin Hart. And they're getting together just talking. And I watched the trailer. Probably some stories I've already heard before, but it'd be something to just reiterate. But something that Chris Rock said in the promotion for in during this trailer just stuck with me. And he said, art is subjective, comedy is subjective, but killing on stage is not. And I paused for a second. I was like, what is Chris Rock? What what secret gem is Chris Rock trying to hint at here? Because we don't talk a lot about comedy here on this podcast, but as we all know, comedy is subjective. It's an eye of the beholder. Art, Mr. Benja, you're an artist. A lot of people like what they like and they don't like what they don't. You just don't know. But he said killing on stage is not. And killing on stage is a euphemism as a comedian is basically being on stage and just getting people to laugh at what you're saying. And it's almost like you're communicating stories so humorously that they just can't help themselves with laughter. And to me, that just opened my eyes to a lot. Being a comedian and kill on stage is not subjective. It's something that is basically something that can happen pretty much almost all the time. And to me, that means that's a skill, right? If you can create something that can do it all the time, and it just blew my mind because most people don't think of comedy, such a crazy thing. They think that this could be a skill that can be developed, especially if you're on stage and get people to laugh um, without a lot of, you can get people to laugh pretty much on command. And so that just opened my mind to this mastery and what does that mean in just any realm of work that you do. So, Mr. Benja, the artist, what does that mean to you? We talk about this on all the time about how we both want to build mastery and selling and marketing because of the skill sets that we may not have developed over our careers and dealing. It's just one of those things that people don't realize that's such a fundamental skill to be an entrepreneur. And it's just opened my eyes to man, but there is this fundamental skills to just any type of profession even if you think it's just art that you can master and you can do. And it's really opened my eyes to that, really, when I listen to that. And so that's where I'm coming from this statement.
Yeah.
And I want to get your take on, and this is what we do in this podcast, right? Show versus business, where we talk about like how we can learn from show business and how they can inform us in our own business. That's another way to look at it. That's how I look at it. So
Well,
what does this statement mean to you? How does that make you feel as an artist?
a lot of people in artistic or creative ventures, they tend to say, if I just keep on and I'm good at something, or I can make very beautiful pictures, or I have a nice singing voice, that should automatically take me into that upper stratosphere. And you're like, and that's just a conception. And what I've gotten from a lot of business people is that, yeah, you're just good at business. You know how to talk to people, the right avenues to take. You're able to tell a deal from a scam, and you just grab a bottle of ketchup and you could turn it into the next big thing. It's okay, but there's got to be some kind of craft. And ketchup like, no, it doesn't matter. We can do this. Let's give it some gimmick and whatever. And you see this disconnect, and neither side is necessarily wrong. There's this area of overlap. If you had a Venn diagram, creativity and finances, art and business, whatever you want to call it, show business. I don't know what to call that sweet spot in the middle, but what he's getting at with this killing on stage, it's not an accident. It's something that's crafted, and you have to stop and consider your creativity in light of the product that you're selling. And yeah, you're selling yourself on stage. You're trying to sell people on ideas and these jokes, and you've got to make sure that you're hitting all the right cities. You got to make sure that you're doing all the right things. And Kevin Hart really, he's shown up on quite a few business podcasts actually. And we're talking about gurus before. He was at the 10X Growth Con. So
Mhm.
he did that whole thing and everybody loved him on stage. So no, they get it. They don't sell that side of things, but when they say stuff like this, you're like, no, no, they totally get it.
No, and when I most people don't realize that comedians, they work hard to craft an hour special. They go away for a while. You see them show up every now and then on a podcast or on your favorite radio station, but the vast majority of the time they're on the road practicing material. They're learning how to say a joke 100 different times, right? And they know exactly what word to emphasize, the beginning, the last word, the beginning, middle word, right? They know how to say it. They know what voice to use. They know it's like all these different components. I think you did some stand up for a second, but I didn't know how much that went into that. It's almost like building. They know that every time this joke is going to kill because they've done it so many times to that
Yeah.
point. So when they put it on wax or put it on a TV special, they just know that this works. And then some can do it faster than others, but there's still that period of time they have to build that up and they craft that over time. I never knew that until like maybe a couple of years ago, how this was built. And it just blows your mind that that's what he means was that skill set you built. And then before that skill set was built, you have to realize how to take your ideas. We all have ideas
Yeah.
and how to turn them into jokes. And that takes a skill, right? To understand
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
piece. And then once you turn it to a joke, you still got to learn how to deliver that joke because you could probably create a great joke, but you might be the best person to deliver it. You may have to just sell that joke to someone else to deliver it. They can do it way
Yeah.
better than you. So it just blew my mind and just all the different skills that go into creating a joke that was going to get people to laugh every time. And to me, that blew my mind. I think there's insights that can be taken on just any of these things. We talk about these gurus all the time. Alex Hormozy said sales is pretty straightforward. You get good at it by just doing it. And you can probably get good at it in a couple of weeks if you just sell almost every day someone and
Mhm.
persuade them. And then over time, it becomes almost natural to undercover using questions to uncover what they're dealing with, uncover what their problems are, leading them to figure out what they need so that you can persuade them on you have an offer that maybe can help them. So
Right.
to me, that's just opened my eyes to like even in art, something as subjective as that, there's opportunities for skill development.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually want to throw Alex Hormozy under the bus right quick. He- he's really big on just continually doing something and getting better. And I think he's going so hard and at such a level that there's nobody in his way. There's nobody really competing with him on what he's doing. Of course it works. And I'm saying of course, like I'm a 100 times millionaire or whatever like him, but he leaves out the part about deliberate practice. And I think he gets this internally, but he doesn't really say it too often, where it's no, you don't just continually do something. You have to stop, adjust, reassess what's going on, look at things very like he's very good at looking at things, observing what happened here, what went there, and then going, oh, okay, so this is like that, and adjusting. I think he does that so naturally, he doesn't put that out there as something you need to do because Benjamin Hardy talks about, or somebody, maybe it wasn't him. They're talking about how if you've been doing something 20 years, you don't have 20 years of experience
Mm.
being a bricklayer. You've got 1 year of experience bricklaying for 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got 1 year of
Yeah.
experience that you've repeated 20 years.
Yeah. I heard Myron say that, Myron Golden, but
Yeah.
yeah, it could have been others. Yeah. And to your point, you're saying there's a deliberate practice so that you can elevate your skill level. And he talks about that a little bit, really just about understanding where you can improve on your different skill stacking, right? How you improve on your skills and getting feedback. But to your point, maybe he goes so fast and rapidly through the systems that you don't realize, oh, this takes time to develop that skill set to get comfortable with it. It's really about confidence, right? Knowing that this works and every time when you do it. But I agree, it's that proficiency. And then to your point, I want to go back to what you uncovered was that intersection between the art and the business and understanding you still have to make that art something great. And or because if they get it, if it's crap, it will never you going to sell that thing for the rest of your life because you
Yeah.
can always find the next new for lack of a better term sucker to sell that to. But if it's good, then it makes it selling easier, the marketing easier. So I do feel like that product piece, killing on stage, crafting that joke, making it really crisp and great can help you. Then that you become legendary because you create art that no one can surpass.
Yeah. By the way, random note, the killing on stage relates to laughing so hard you die, you know. laughed till I died." You remember Roger Rabbit? They had
Yes,
the
I do.
weasels. Don't laugh too hard, you'll die." So
I do remember those. I do remember those. I was just thinking those. Yeah, I've been there. Someone just so loud. Well, just a side note. The funniest thing I ever been was at a Dave Chappelle concert back in Atlanta. That had to be like maybe almost 20 years ago. I was at the Tabernacle, and he just started talking, and man, I was laughing my head off. I was sitting next to a friend. I said, "What's he talking about?" She said, "I don't know." I said, "I don't know either." It's just funny. And it was just like blew my mind. He just up there, he just been saying "Ooh," and we were just
Yep,
he just he was
exactly.
playing us like he was playing us like a film, boy.
It's
It was
amazing how they can do that. But
yeah.
it's a good thing to study. We'll definitely be coming back to discussions like this. Got any more on that?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, because I want to know what's going on with story number 2. What should we do about these billionaire tech bros? I'm talking Bill Gates. I'm talking Elon Musk. I'm talking, well, do we still talk about Bezos? Throw him in there too. Jeff
All true.
Bezos. Talking about, you don't even have to be billionaires. We can talk about it. Maybe, I don't know. Steve Jobs was one of them, the guys from Google, so on and so forth. Tech bros running things. We've been asking about this because just recently, I'm not sure what type of discussion it was exactly. There was some conference, the New York Times was running it, I believe, and Elon Musk was talking with this guy named Andrew, who he called Jonathan. And you know what I'm talking about, right? That discussion. Yeah, they brought up the concept of advertisers, and it seemed to touch a nerve with the chief technical officer, Elon Musk, who cut him off and was basically got pissed off and was like, you know what? Advertisers trying to blackmail me, they can go F themselves. There was silence. They hadn't seen anything like that. And of course, he doubles down, like sits up in his chair. They could go F themselves. You have to look it up for yourself. It's pretty classic. It's pretty great. Great in terms of it's great content, not
Yes.
necessarily that it was great. But this has started to bring into question a lot of these billionaire tech bros. If you've got somebody doing that on stage, is this what we want running humanity? I'm not even gonna say our companies or whatever. These technical companies are pushing humanity in certain ways. And do we want these billionaire tech bros moving things in this direction or being out of control? I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure you saw that, Theo,
Yeah, I did. It was the yeah, Andrew Ross Sorkin. He has this Deal Book Summit that he does every year. And Andrew Ross Sorkin, known for young guy who wrote the book on the basis of The Big Short, which was about the housing crisis we suffered in '08. So it was just one of those guys just out there. So Elon Musk specifically, but it's a lot of them, man. You talked before our pod. I don't know if we record this, but we talked about the All In podcast, right? Those guys, right? David
right?
Sachs and who else is on it? The other three. It'll come to me later. But a bunch of these VC type guys get together once a month and talk about stuff. Even them, they got tons of money. They were instrumental in that whole fiasco with Silicon Valley Bank collapsing almost and
Yep.
them pleading to the government to bail them out. Elon Musk and his shenanigans. And I think it's just it's a shape of what social media has walked a little bit because back in the day, a CEO could just go by his business and do the business, right? And then that would be fine. But now the CEOs realize that the best way to new billionaire ones, right? The best way to stay relevant, to stay, keep your business in the earshot, just like in our politics, is becoming sensational to be
Yeah.
bigger than life, right? It's not about your company, it's about your brand.
Mhm.
As long as your brand is big and brass or whatever, then you may have a chance because now you're bringing the masses with you, all right? And because they see all the shenanigans and no, Elon, you tell them what's what. He's not going down. And I think that's what's been happening. And one of the guys from the All In podcast, I forgot how you say his last name. He created this whole class of things called the SPACs, right? I don't know if you're
Yeah.
in the special
Mhm.
purpose acquisition class type of
Yeah.
vehicles. He was pumping those things on Twitter. He had a big following on Twitter, pumping them. Hey, buy this. And so they would buy these dog companies, helping them go public, knowing that, yeah, maybe they could do something big, but probably a lot of them would not, and a lot of them did not. So he's pumping them. So he had all these investors, mom and pop folks investing in these companies, and they were dying on the vine as soon as they went public and went on the stock market because they didn't have the profitability, they didn't have the infrastructure and everything to be a sustainable business on the stock market. And he knowingly did that because he created the vehicle. He got his money out once it went public.
Yeah.
And it was basically a pump and dump scheme. Let's be honest. And then let's like get into the comments of all the different billionaires and multi-millionaires who are pumping a lot of these NFTs, uh, Dogecoin, and all these other coins and altcoins out there during the blockchain fiasco. Sam Bankman Fried, right? He was on FTX. So anyway, to answer your question, they're doing what all good business people do. They see an opportunity and they're running through the opportunity. And the opportunity is leverage the masses with these huge distribution channels, social
Mhm.
media, to get a lot of folks on their back. Whether they believe it or not, it gives them enough leeway. They can still run their businesses how they want and not be encumbered by government or regulations. And they can still do what they want to do. So that's, I look at them. They're just using the tools of our modern, culture to be successful. And so you just have to, you can't hate the player, just hate the game.
So, do we change the game?
It's too late, Mr. Benja. The behavior has
Oh,
been baked in. Literally, I didn't, it's like, I was never a big social media person, but you'd be amazed how many people every night just watch social media religiously. A lot of folks do. And we know that's why we're on social media. And so it's almost like it's hard to, we take the phones to our bathrooms. Let's be honest, right?
mhm.
This is where we're at now. We're on the phone scrolling while we're doing our most intimate thing as human beings. We're learning how to listen to everybody. So of course, this the behavior is baked in, Mr. Benj. I don't know how do you change. I don't know unless you just forbid them from being on social media, but they use social media to prevent that rule from ever passing.
Yeah. No, it's a weird problem, and I think that, like, when someone asks you ask a certain group of people why this guy shouldn't be in power, and they're like, "Because he's a jerk." And at first, I was like, "That's not a good enough reason." Coming from the computer science programmer lifestyle, you walk into a room full of jerks, and
Yep.
you're just like, "Yeah, whatever. Does the renderer work?" It's like, "Tuesday, and don't say shit to me until then." It's like, "Alright, Tuesday, and I won't say shit to you until then. Do you want me to remove you from the email list?" "Yes." You're just like, "Alright, come back Tuesday." Boom, renderer's done. It's okay. You're dealing with these types of people, and they'll start to say they need mental help, they're on the spectrum or whatever, and I'm like, "I don't know." I met so many of them that it's just I'm just thinking that they're this class of people. I am no, mental health expert, so in fact, I get like that sometimes myself, so I'm also hedging my own safety.
The flame is a little too close to home.
I don't know if
I
it's a
think, I don't know, Mr. Benja. It just seems like the unlock has been leverage social media to the utmost to build up a swell of goodwill so that it becomes bigger than the business.
Mhm.
And that's, look at Sam Altman, we're going to help humanity. But as soon as OpenAI turned on him, the board turned on him, what did he do? He's leveraged social media to get everybody on his team. And he was able to keep his executive leadership position at OpenAI. And so,
Taking the
I mean,
selfie,
with the
visitor badge.
yeah, visitor badge. And so it's okay. That's the play. And so it's what it is at this point. And I think players gonna play, man. And so I don't know. So are we tired of it? That's the question, right, Mr. Bridget? In America, I was thinking about this too the other day. I was like, man, what makes us so unique? You look at the history, man. Like I was talking about, I watched Napoleon, right? And you just look at like Russia. They've been through so much crap, not just World War II and all that stuff went on there. And then you look at Napoleon and he went to try to invade Russia. And they were like, nah, you ain't getting us, son. we're just gonna burn down our capital, Moscow. So you ain't gonna have shit. Come get us. And so it's just like that cold lifestyle, that cold person that like the
Yeah.
hardness. Or what's that movie we saw? The one about Chernobyl, right?
Yeah.
Those people went in there and just cleaned up all that radioactivity and just without a second thought. That's not America. That's my point. Americans, we're about, I'm going to be a billionaire, even if I'm born in a hick town in Kentucky.
Yeah.
You may one day become a billionaire. So anybody that has a story that came from nothing to greatness, rags to riches, that's just fundamental to Americans. And we just don't, we respect that so much that we don't want no one to take that away. And so when these billionaires speak, we want to hear them because they may have that key unlock that can help me become who they are. And so I think that's uniquely American. And that's why for as long as we have billionaires talking their talk, we're going to listen to them. And I don't think they're going to go anywhere anytime soon, of course.
Yeah, it's a weird situation where they're just I don't know, man, if they really wanted to go out of control. And I didn't think about this until the OpenAI debacle with Sam Altman. It's like how many of the employees sided with him? There was some huge percentage
Yeah.
that were ready to walk. And it's, yo, I can get a if I can get a whole bunch of people behind me to knock this thing out, to do this thing crazy, and the government's going to have to deal with the possibility of my entire company just stopping. And it's what does that do to a country, a city, a municipality? It's these are serious things. Like Google runs a lot of our technology, Amazon runs like large amounts of our technology. It's these people have sway.
Elon Musk has access to the satellites to help the Ukraine fight in their war against Russia.
There you go.
So
So yeah, I'm sure there's a guy from the government that they're like, we have to talk to Elon. Oh, who's going to do it? Okay, Sam, you go call Elon. It's like, I don't want to tell Harris to do it. It's like, all right, Harris, you're up next. I could just imagine these government discussions. Who gets to talk to Elon and what is he going to do to you?
the government, they probably got spies all up in SpaceX. So come on, let's be honest. The CIA is all up in there, man. They know.
But yeah,
They
but
know.
there has to be a front, right?
Yeah.
A fall guy. Speaking of fall guys, and this is a terrible transition, but we're going to do it anyway. Story number 3. Why is Hollywood hiding musicals? This is just a weird thing that came up that I thought was really interesting. And we'll get into how we feel about musicals in a second. But a lot of the musicals that are coming out aren't being sold as musicals. They're hiding this fact from everybody. The trailer for Wonka, you wouldn't know it's a musical. The trailer for the new Color Purple, you wouldn't know it's a musical. Miraculous on Netflix, Adam Sandler's new animated comedy Leo, musicals, but you wouldn't know. And this goes on and on. I'm looking at the list here, and there's an article from Screen Crush, and one of the things the person says is, I must assume that someone in a corporate boardroom somewhere has determined that audiences don't consider musical numbers to be a selling point for movies these days. And I can attest that's true. Have you noticed this at all, Theo? This phenomenon?
Yes, I have. Do you want to talk about if we like them or not, or do you want to save that for the end?
I think they're garbage. Carry on.
Okay. Well, I like them. I actually like them. So there you go.
Oh
So
my
here we
god.
go. Yeah, I
Oh
do.
my god.
It depends. It's like I didn't like them at one time, but we watched the kids and I years ago. We watched The Greatest Showman with Hugh Jackman, and
Oh,
yeah,
that's a
the songs are
musical?
okay at the time. Yeah, it's a musical.
Oh, I'm
Greatest
taking that
Showman.
off my watch list now.
That so anyway, I say that to say that, but it's funny. The first time you listen to a song on a musical, but they do little tricks, right? You ever been to the one song they want you to remember? They'll play that song throughout the movie, like little snippets here and there, like
Oh, yeah.
Frozen. The
Mhm.
Frozen, the one Let It Go. They were playing that. If you watch that movie 100 times, like I've had, because I have a daughter, if you hear that the chords for Let It Go at the very beginning of the movie and all the way through. So when the big song comes out, it's there and then it shows up at the end. So anyway, I say all to say is that most of the musicals song numbers, you're like, okay. But the thing is, they become earworms. So when you watch it again and again, then you start knowing the words, and then next, oh, that's a bad, not bad musical. And then recently we went to a sing along where you actually sit in the theater and they had a little bouncing ball at the bottom with the words, and you would sing along when that came up, and the whole theater's just singing, singing along. But anyway, I digress. I like them, but look, man, it's marketing, number one. And I think a lot of folks probably feel like you do, that they don't like musicals. So that's probably why they're hiding it. The hope is that the songs are so good that people will be like, okay. Now, there's been rumors that people find us a musical and they walk out. But yeah, the ones that give it a shot, they may just be just enough, right, to get them to stay. And so that's what they're hoping for.
I was mad at Sweeney Todd for that one. Um, I went in and yeah, Johnny Depp got me. I was like, "Ooh, you got me." Um, yeah, it's a whole thing, and it's funny. Like you would figure that for the people that like musicals, it's like, hey, the number one smash musical, and sing some songs in the trailer, and people are like, you know what? I need to go sing those songs in the theater with a bunch of other people who like musicals just like me, and they'll go. But that's not the case. And I'm wondering, do people who follow musicals, are they like passing notes to each other? Hey, dog, don't tell anybody, but this is a musical. That's okay. No, no.
I mean, this was one of those things. Hamilton, I went in completely blind. I saw the actual stage
Mhm.
play when it first came out years ago, and not that far ago. And I was blown away. They're gonna be singing they sing the whole time, singing rap. I mean, you probably seen it by now, but they sing and rap the whole time. And when you go in not knowing that, you like, huh? But you get used to it. You're like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
And but you said you didn't like any musicals, Mr. Benji. I'm talking about
That's what I gotta
Singing in
say.
the
Like,
Rain.
I don't
I'm
like
talking
any
about
musicals. I They're not my favorite genre. There are musicals I like. There was the Carmen
give me
hip
one.
opera. There was that one
Wait, was deep cut. Oh,
yeah,
SvB with
Most Def and,
Beyonce.
yep, I love that. There was the episode of what do you call it? Buffy. There are a couple of them here and there where I'm like, "Okay, I like this as a musical." In the Marvels, I actually got into the musical scene there. I was like, "Okay,
Mhm.
cool." But for the most part, when I go to a movie, I'm looking for a story, not a musical extravaganza. I'm looking for the plot and the characters, all this to play out. So when I sit down and they start singing, and this is terrible. My mother hated me for this because I grew up watching opera and I like opera for what it is. Phantom of the Opera is great. Porgy and Bess is great. Hamilton's probably great as a play. I wouldn't want to see it as a movie musical. I'd like to
Yeah.
see it as a play. There's that disconnect for me. That's all I got on
Oh,
this.
yeah. Go see a musical, guys.
Yeah,
Don't listen to Mr. Benji.
if you got your favorite musical that you want to see me roast, then please send them to me. Catch me
We
at
should do
Mr.
reaction videos of
on
musicals, Mr.
Twitter.
Benji. We'll have our faces at the bottom. I'll be like this, and you'll be like,
Oh man. So yeah, that's that. All right. Story number 4. We got an AI watch here. People have been talking about AI disrupting things, taking over the world, stealing jobs, going Skynet on us, controlling your devices, watching you, taking all your data, and basically turning humanity into a subservient class underneath robots. That's been the boogeyman speak that they've been saying. But it hasn't been so disruptive like that. Disruptive industries come around and they flip over the table, and all of a sudden you go from regular push button phones to smartphones. You've got other disruptions like the the Uber economy. All of a sudden, the entire taxi and driving economy was upended by Ubers and Lyfts. But AI hasn't seemed like such a disruption. I don't know. Is anybody getting disrupted, Theo?
good point. There's rumors, right? It's going to replace 300,000 jobs, and it's going to do this and that. Let's be frank. This revolutionary chat GPT that really spurred this new arms race was only a year ago. But and that's a fair point, Mr. Ben. It does seem like it's not disrupting as fast as we thought it would and how it could, because you still need that human interface. But I will say this, the challenge, we're trying to do it in our company, our corporation, but it's almost like a glorified like researcher or copywriter, just basically just one level up from any other type of thing that we use, like a grammar checker or
Right.
idea generator for headlines for marketing. So we're not using it like corporate wide. And I think a lot of companies are struggling with that. Maybe it can help individuals do better with their work, but I don't see it being used effectively. So is it disrupting what we do? No, it's helping what we do, but I don't see it disrupting what we're doing.
I think that's a key point where if it's helping you do enough, then maybe you don't need help from somebody else you might have paid down the
Mhm.
line. I'm thinking of concept artist and well, let me just mention some of the things that we were talking about. Search, instead of search, you could ask the AI and you get more nuanced results. And I think it's slowly disrupting search, and search is morphing into this now. Production assistance, if you want to make sure you email somebody, you have your AI thing go through all your emails. That's integrated into Gmail now. You can start using that. Visual effects. Hey, so we need to make this whole scene be lit a certain way. Should we go relight it? No, just run AI through it. Okay. Concept art, entertainment visuals, marketing. You want to send out your emails to the right people and they ask questions. You have your chat bots, content creation. All these are little menial tasks, I would say, where they're not like y- you want, you don't want an expert getting replaced by AI. I don't know if we're not there yet. I don't think in any cases, but it's, I'm working at home and I'm like, should I send this off to a VA, a virtual assistant, or should I just get some suggestions from AI? Oh, we have a junior copywriter in the office. Instead of talking to him about getting me 50 ideas, let me ask ChatGPT for 50 ideas. Or we're working out this new sales letter. Instead of getting Sally from down the hall, let's just run it through this sales letter optimizer AI
Yeah.
program. And so that's what I'm looking at, where it's starting to cut off the little bits of excess here and there, but not disrupting anything.
Yeah, I would agree. And also, there's rumors just the AI companies themselves are still trying to figure a lot of things out. Obviously, we talked about the 2 weeks OpenAI corporate governance slowed down some of the things that they're trying to do with Sam Altman's removal and then eventually him coming back on board. So there's some doubt there that even the corporate structure will allow them to accelerate faster with AI type technology, even amidst the rumor of a more powerful generative AI out there. What's it called? Q squared. But we'll see what that looks like. And then Google, who, basically invented the concepts of how these algorithms work, is they're behind. But their vaunted launch of their new ChatGPT pod, Gemini, has been delayed. And to your point, the new technologies and all these startups that came out of this, most of the VCs are realizing that, you know what? They don't have the resources or the know-how to compete with OpenAI, a Google, right? Facebook. And so it's like a lot of these
Yeah.
startups with their ideas of how they can do one piece of the AI puzzle is still debatable. So to your point, I just don't see the disruption coming just yet. It's almost just like we've done with, it's almost like we've gotten so good at just hyping technology and we forgot how to just make the technology useful like we did. So it's like before we got Wi-Fi, we talked about it, but we had Wi-Fi, we had computer networking, just communicating,
Yeah.
email, we got that working. And then we hyped it up a little bit, right? Now it's the opposite. We're hyping everything up. Blockchain, this, that, now AI. But is the technology there yet? And that's always the challenge now, as opposed to what it was.
Yeah. I think so too. We'll definitely come back to that one. But for now, we're going to do, we're going to beat our previous record in the shortest rant ever. Story number 5. Thinking about the Marvels, are we really arguing about the right thing? The narrative that keeps coming up is the Marvels was a flop. And now we've got people talking about, hey, maybe we're not supporting women, or why is it always minority characters and women? Why do we always seem to bash them whenever something does bad? And it's always that. Stop talking about that. really stop talking about that. I think we're not focusing on the right things, and I think our focus is a little bit misdirected. There are a lot of things the Marvels did well that no one is talking about. And is this toxic positivity? Maybe there's a little bit of it, but I think our discussions have gone way too far on the wrong side of things. And we really need to get back to pumping movies that are good for what they are. It's going to take some time to get these hero people into watching anything about, hey, I can't relate to a teenage Pakistani girl with light powers. That's not where I'm coming from. That's not what I understand. But she made good there was a good product. Miss Marvel was good, the TV series, and I thought the Marvels was actually good. So let's talk more about getting people out and understanding that they should check these things out and see them. And yeah, so much of the argument is about people wanting to discuss why this is an argument instead of actually doing good by the movie. Sorry I had to do this in a rant, but there it is. I got so much more to say on this.
Tokyo ish. Maybe we'll do a whole we'll break it down later in another section. But I would agree wholeheartedly. We both like Miss Marvel. The discourse just came at the wrong time, to be honest with you. There's probably people against Disney and just this whole woke Disney narrative that even Bob Iger is trying to step away from. So maybe we'll have a discussion on that next week, Mr. Benja. But Mr. Benji, I think that's it, man. Let's get out of here. We do a nice little hour here, guys. So look, if you like what we talked about, please subscribe, comment on Show versus Business on X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Go visit us at our website, Show versus Business. Hey, Mr. Benja, you take care of yourself.
Peace.